Hi guys, I'm back again with another top 5. Previously we've looked at my favorite linear and clicky switches, and we're going to end this mini-series with tactile switches. This was by far the hardest list of the 3 to put together, and during the course of making this video I actually realized that tactile switches are probably my least favorite category, mainly because the tactility in clicky switches is often much more to my liking. I also found it hard to decide between several on some occasions, so 2 of the places in this list are shared places between switches that feel comparable but are actually quite different. As before, please note that this is by definition an opinion, of course. I base my opinion not entirely, but mainly on key feel, but that's a subjective thing to begin with, so please don't be upset if your favorite switch is nowhere to be seen on this list. Kicking off at number 5, we've actually got 3 switches sharing 5th best, and it's all rubber. BTC downward slider, Scorpius downward slider, and Topra. Now some of you might scoff at the inclusion of what are basically pimped rubber domes on a best of switches list, but when you think about it, rubber domes are a pretty natural choice if you're looking for non-clicky tactile switches in my opinion. Rubber domes are tactile and silent, and using the right materials can be made to feel really high quality without being mushy. The reason why I crammed all 3 of these together is because they all feel somewhat similar, but they each have their own pros and cons. I've given good reviews about BTC domeless slider on several occasions. They're extremely snappy, the most tactile of the 3, and the assemblies are robustly made, although they're also the loudest. Scorpius domeless slider is actually both the best feeling and best sounding in my opinion. That is a good sound. But the boards were built like crap, and as they employ a membrane rather than a proper PCB like the other 2, they're prone to oxidation and failure, and therefore the least durable. Topra is the most expensive and both the mushiest and the least nice feeling in my opinion. Yeah, I know, that's the comment section blown up right there, but honestly even the 55-gram ones, which I think are the best, don't hold up to the other 2 in terms of key feel, I'd say. Where Topra has the advantage is that they're both the most durable of the 3 and they're capacitive as well, which means that unlike the others they have inherent N-key rollover, and also they actuate partway through, which leads to a more relaxed typing style. That's a huge advantage, by the way, not to be underestimated. By the way, recently there have been BKE Redux domes for Topra based on those used in several models of bespoke vintage Sony keyboards, and from what I could tell, the key feel of some of those is pretty reminiscent of BTC domeless slider. As a small side benefit, Topra is possible to get with MX compatible sliders, maybe half of the Scorpius boards used MX sliders, and BTC domeless slider is always MX mount, so you can use custom keycaps on them. At number 4 we have Alps SKCM Neon Green and ITW Magnetic Valve. Now these are completely different, but they're both pretty interesting. Neon Green Alps are super rare and not easy to get hold of, while ITWs are only uncommon, but they have one of the most insanely whimsical and bizarre working mechanisms I've seen to date. Check out my full review of them if you're interested. The best way I can describe the key feel of both of these switches is as a mechanical Topra, namely they have the same rounded tactility as Topra, but being mechanical and not based on rubber domes, they completely lack the mushiness that Topra have, and they feel distinctly mechanical if you get what I mean. Both are rather stiff, the tactile bump being at around 70 grams of force on Neon Greens, and I suspect something similar for ITW Mag Valve, but requiring a large amount of work to move because of the roundedness of the feeling. That said, they feel very satisfying and clean to use in a way. It's a really unique key feel. If you like Topra, you really should give these a try sometime if you can. The Neon Greens feel a little bit better than the ITWs in my opinion, as the ITWs are really quite tactile and so non-mushy that they bottom out very hard, which can wear on your fingers a bit. But the ITWs do use electromagnetic sensing, which is much more durable and robust than the Alps, and they possess N-key rollover as well. Then at number 3 we have SMK second generation tactile switches, which are the tactile version of the more well-known clicky blue Monterey switch, which made it into the top 5 best clicky switch list as it happens. Now, in a bit of a fit of irony, although I prefer the clicky version to the tactile one is actually placed higher in the tactile list and the clicky one is in the clicky list, mostly because the competition is a lot tougher with clicky switches, which have so many amazing designs among them. That said, although I don't like these as much as clicky SMKs, they're a very nice all-rounder switch. Their tactility is nice and sharp, but not too overstated, and the weighting is pretty good too. It's possibly one of the easiest switches on this list to get into. At number 2, we have a switch that's not easy to get into at all. In fact, at first I didn't even like it all that much. However, the more I kept playing with them, the more I realized that it's actually a really nice switch. They are Fujitsu Tactile Magnetic Reed, which, disappointingly, I think are still the only switch I've discovered to date, and as there's no instance of these switches I know of, they're probably the rarest switch on all of the lists. They're the earliest design that makes use of a leaf spring to generate tactility that I know of, as the board I found it in is from 1979, and just look at how big that tactile leaf is. It's bigger than a whole modern switch. I think that the thing that put me off at first is that the angle of the leaf causes something that at first feels like a lot of friction during the tactile bump, but honestly after you try them out for a while they actually become very nice switches. It's a bit hard to describe, but it works really well actually, and being a reed switch, their lifetime is in the billions of key presses, and they even sound pretty cool. And finally, at number 1, the winner of both the Best Tactile Switch and Smallest Surprise in History award, Alps SKCM Orange. For me, this is the real standout on this list. I like these so much better than all the others. SKCM Salmon are really good as well, they're quite comparable even, but oranges have a lighter weighting that really completes the key feel, at least for me. With a beautifully balanced tactile bump and perfect weighting, these are just such a joy to use. It's absolutely sublime. I could happily use these for the rest of my life. They're just as vulnerable to dirt and dust as neon green Alps, but they're much more common, being easily found in older Apple keyboards, and unfairly disregarding the recent complete market explosion, they aren't even that expensive to get hold of. They even sound better than neon green Alps too, which is of course a function of chassis, etc., but I mean, listen to this. They're possibly my fastest typing switch too, even though I like some clicky switches like Blue Alps and Beam Springs more overall, but with these I can type at noticeably greater speed than either of those. Now that's the end of this trilogy of videos, but because so far they've been quite well received, I have decided to do 2 more Top X videos. Next up, coming in 3 weeks, the worst switches ever made, and it's going to be a top 10 instead of a top 5 as well. If you ever wanted to hear a lot of highly colourful language about keyboard design, this should be the video for you. In the meantime, that's it. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what your favourite tactile switches are, and see you guys next time.